Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It is live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra and also streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. Coming up this evening, the Kolebu Central Laboratory faces a shutdown from Thursday as a deepening dispute over the removal of its head of unit escalates. Tonight, we engage medical laboratory professionals and doctors on the growing impasse. Also coming up, youth anger mounts over the big push delay as government blames contractors and warns contract termination for non-performance. And later in the bulletin, 3-member committee investigating the death of Charles Emisa has concluded he died from medical negligence rather than the immediate injuries he sustained. And for those who do not know Charles Emisa, he was the man who did not get a bed, or the no-bed syndrome became quite a public conversation following his death when he went to about 3 major health institutions without admission. We'll give you details of that and more in the next 1 hour, plus business and sports at the tail end of the show. Before that though, let's bring you the news summaries. And joining us in studio is Grace Hamwa Ajiman. Hello, Grace.
Hi, Martin. Let's begin from the agric sector because cocoa farmers in the Amenfi Central District of the Western North region have been urged to join the fight against illegal mining as concerns grow over the damage Galamsey is causing to farms, rivers and rural livelihoods. The call was made during a farmers' dialogue organized by the Ghana Cooperative Cocoa Farmers and Marketing Association Limited with support from EcoCare Ghana. Away from that, a 19-year-old senior high school student has been shot in the stomach during a demolition exercise at Domia Bradintra. In the South municipality on Wednesday, May 6, the incident occurred when police officers were deployed to supervise a demolition operation reportedly being carried out by a private developer. Eyewitnesses say the officers opened fire during the exercise, resulting in the student sustaining serious injuries. And a committee investigating the death of hit-and-run victim Charles Emisa has concluded that a breakdown in emergency medical care, not the accident itself, led to his death, raising serious concerns about Ghana's referral system and hospital response protocols. Mr. Emisa, a 29-year-old engineer with Promasido Ghana Limited, was knocked down at the Circle overpass on February 6, 2026. He was reportedly stabilized at the scene by emergency responders before being transported for further treatment. That's it for the news summaries, Martin.
Thank you very much, Grace. Let's settle for the details of our stories now. We would start from the health front, because the Central Laboratory at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital faces a possible shutdown on Thursday, the 7th of May, which is actually just tomorrow, as medical laboratory scientists threaten to withdraw their services. The action follows the alleged unlawful removal of their head of unit, a decision that triggered tensions between laboratory scientists and medical doctors at the facility. The local chapter of the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union on Wednesday staged a protest demanding the immediate reinstatement of their colleague. Our labor correspondent Daniel Opoku reports following this issue becoming another major public conversation. Let's listen to that report and we'll come and subject it to some analysis.
More than 300 laboratory scientists at the Central Laboratory of Kolebu Teaching Hospital picketed at the premises earlier on Wednesday. The protesting staff were demanding the reinstatement of their head of unit, whom they insist was illegally removed. They also argue that medical doctors should not be appointed to head laboratory units, maintaining that such roles should be reserved for qualified laboratory professionals. Although the group had initially announced plans to embark on a strike on Tuesday, May 12, they opted to begin a picketing exercise. Local Union Chairman John Makoja emphasized the need for immediate return of the head of unit. He noted that the absence of leadership has significantly disrupted operations at the laboratory.
Standards Authority came yesterday. We couldn't get money to fund their work. So they get money, you or Kolebu couldn't get money. So normally what happened, the head of department will have to approve. But now we don't have head of department. So it means no check can be issued in the name of Central Lab. So that work could not be carried on. So I came this morning to communicate to my people about what was agreed yesterday. And the people are not happy.
Meanwhile, patients who were unaware of the protest were left stranded and visibly frustrated as services were interrupted.
Just shouted at me that we are not working. Why? 1,300 and something. I paid 1,300 for the DC, the lab.
I don't know what is happening, and they said I should sit here and wait. So if they don't come, why must I sit here?
The aggrieved staff later marched to the hospital's administration block to press home their demands. They warned that they would not resume work unless their colleague was reinstated. Despite appeals from the local union chairman for calm, the protesters remained resolute.
They gave management 72 hours to call the gentleman who made the statement that 75% or 50% of their lab results is wrong. If they don't call him to order, the time elapses tomorrow. And tomorrow they will shut the whole place down for maintenance. And they're also calling on management to immediately reinstate the revoked head of department. If not, tomorrow, after the 72 hours, they will advise themselves.
And you heard that report by Daniel Opoku, who is our Labour correspondent, updating us on what is likely to take place at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, where the central laboratory, we are told that the hospital is likely to be shut down. Now, the current standoff is rooted in a long-standing professional turf tension within Ghana's health sector over who is qualified to head the diagnostics unit, according to management, reportedly as part of an administrative restructuring. However, laboratory scientists argue that the decision violates established professional protocols and undermines their autonomy. Laboratory scientists maintain that only certified lab professionals have the technical expertise to manage diagnostic laboratories. Some medical doctors and administrators, however, argue that doctors, particularly pathologists, are qualified to supervise laboratory services within broader clinical governance structures. This disagreement has deepened mistrust between the two professional groups, with lab scientists viewing the move as an encroachment, while management frames it as an administrative decision. Meanwhile, the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union has expressed concern over the situation at Korle Bu while urging calm. So in studio with us, we have been joined by the Vice President of the Union, Dr. Franklin Ni Amate Ama, to at least help us understand how we even got here in the first place. Mr. Amate, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thank you very much, and a very good evening to your cherished listeners.
Right. So help us with a bit of background, and if you can be brief with it. So how did we get here where now there seems to be a turf war about who can manage our labs?
Well, how did we get here is just the case that duty bearers have not been able to position things appropriately. It is the case that in the healthcare sector, we as a country has adopted leadership after own kind. And so if you come into the hospital space, you will reckon that pharmacists submit to pharmacists, nurses submit to nurses, and similarly, it is expected, and so should it be, that medical laboratory scientists should be allowed to lead and govern ourselves. It is a simple matter. It cannot be the case that you as a medical officer go and do a specialty. So for instance, you are a medical laboratory scientist, but you have some interest in pharmacology. So your master's, you go and do pharmacology. It does not give you the right to become a pharmacist. The basic requirement to become a pharmacist is the first degree pharmacology, pharmacy course. That is it. So it's just a simple matter. You can go and learn some specialty to come and practice something in the laboratory with specific job description in the lab. So the space is available. The laboratory is available for everybody so certified to come and practice what they went to school to learn. So it is not a case that we are preventing people and denying people access to the laboratory. That is not factual. Because the fact is that even cleaners come into the laboratory space to do their cleaning, and we do not have issues. How much more our colleagues, medical officers, who are coming into the space to do some specific assignment with proper job description, because there shouldn't be role conflicts. If what they are coming to do, medical laboratory scientists are doing it already by law, it will bring conflict, role conflict. And so what is the job description that the medical doctors have? If it is clear and they submit saying, and there is no role conflict, they will be allowed to come and practice. But they want to come on the certificate of leadership and management, that they have stakes to lead and manage in the medical laboratory space. And that cannot be allowed.
So that is where the
contention is. Medical laboratory science is a distinct profession. Medicine is also a distinct profession. A profession cannot be so called when its apron strings is tied to the fortunes of another profession. Then it is not a profession anyway. So if we have identified that medical laboratory science is a distinct profession, so governed by Part 1 of the Act 857, and medicine, so governed by the Part 2, two distinct professions, allow us to manage in our various laboratories. And you can also manage in the consulting room, in the Department of Medicine, and what have you. And then we shine together.
Okay. So let me be sure that we are on the same page on this. So it is not about who uses the space, the medical labs. It is about who leads, or the leadership.
Exactly what the conversation is.
Okay.
You reckon that people are not able to submit to that, but that is their cynosure. That is their concentration. And I will expose it to you. If your problem is about access denial, why are you touching the leader? And when you touch the leader, you appoint quickly one of your kind to go and have oversight responsibility in that space. It tells the story that all over, it is a shenanigan. You really wanted the space. You wanted to lead the space. And that is why you are calling us black. It is just the case of the anta wanting the grass cutter in the soup and calling him names. Your results are not credible. So I am coming to bring in a certain structure. Do you have even capacity to come and do testing? You don't.
So is this an isolated case with just Kolebu, or it is cut across many other medical facilities in the country?
The conversation is that what happens in Kolebu is likely to be replicated across the length and breadth of this country. And that is why nationally, all laboratory professionals are working with keen interest what will happen in Kolebu. And if we do not manage this situation very well, it will boomerang in our faces, because it is the need of every human being, for that matter professionals, to feel significant in their space. If you are somebody who is conversant with the Maslow theory of needs, you will need that medical laboratory people want to feel significant in their place.
Right.
And it is only fair that we allow them to lead and manage themselves.
Yeah, first.
And it's also about opportunities and fairness in terms of principles.
It is not in doubt the important role that medical lab scientists play when you look at the entire spectrum of health delivery. But the problem is with who leads the labs. Have you raised this with the management of Kolebu about the fact that doctors are interfering or getting into your space and wanting to lead or manage your affairs? And what has the response from management been?
Now, let me submit to you why this issue has been protracted. Whether we like it or not, medical officers are the ones that are leading the various facilities. In Ghana today, all the teaching hospitals are being led, all the facilities are being led by medical officers. That is why we are going to agree and the Chief Director of Ministry of Health has given a certain directive that stay execution on the matter, allow what have been done to remain, and they go. And because they have the power to appoint and disappoint, they set our own aside and appoint their own. So the point is that we, whether we like it or not, we are the underdogs in this matter. And the only reason why they feel they have to lead and manage in our space as medical laboratory is because they went to do a certain master's program in laboratory as medical officers.
So educational qualification is one of the justifications they are using for this interference.
The educational qualification is no longer even valid.
Because some of you
did 6 years for medicine. I also did 6 years for medical laboratory science, and I'm a doctor of medical laboratory science. And you see, you can pretend to understand medical laboratory science more than me, but that is fallacy. When subjected to proper scrutiny, you will find out you are wanting.
Okay.
Now, let me prove to you. If you want to know who really command the medical laboratory science, you ask yourself this important question. Can the laboratory function without the input of the medical laboratory scientists? No. But the laboratory has been running even up to international accreditation level in Korle Bu without the input of medical officers. That should tell you that the core practitioners in the laboratory space, without any shadows of skepticism, is medical laboratory scientists.
Right. Let's make progress and bring this conversation to an end. So how do we solve this problem? Clearly, it is a major problem and is likely to even cause the closure or the shutting down of a very important teaching hospital like Korle Bu. So we need to prevent that from happening. What kinds of responses have you gotten as a result of these agitations you've raised, and what has the Ministry of Health also told you regarding how they intend to solve this problem?
Well, so yesterday we had extensive conversations at the Ministry of Health, and the directive is that we should all hold our guns, and leadership will form a competent committee to resolve the matters appropriately. But you can see that our colleagues in Korle Bu are disgruntled. Because why? You as the chief director, you gave a specific directive which has been flouted because they are in administrative position and they are exercising and exerting their authority capriciously by setting our own aside. So you can see the revolt at Korle Bu right now, and we are struggling as national leaders to contain and manage the situation. But we will continue to do our best for cool heads to prevail. Today, if we have attempted to show up, we could even be lynched. You could see how angry they are. They are not interested in what we have gone to achieve now. They say if somebody can set aside a chief director's directive, then they cannot trust the process. What is the way forward? The way forward is to ensure that if you have something to practice in the medical laboratory space, submit your job description. Let us ensure that there are no role conflicts, and then you come and practice what you have gone to school to learn, to the betterment of the patient. But understand that in the medical laboratory space, you cannot claim leadership there because you do not have the basic qualification. It is a principle for pharmacists, it is a principle for nurses, and it is a principle for even day medical doctors. It is a simple matter.
Okay. Final question. We are told that there was a memorandum of understanding that was signed between the medical doctors and your good selves. Can you confirm that for us, and what are the next steps beyond this signing of an MOU?
So with the greatest respect, what we signed yesterday, for now, could be regarded a lot of nothing. Why? If we have signed that medical doctors should be given access to go to the lab to practice, what are they going to practice? Furtherance to that conversation should be a competent job description submitted to ensure that there are no role conflict, and then we can engage our people that we can collaborate on the patient for the betterment of patient safety. Then they can work together. Then medical officers should also come quickly. They should learn quickly. They should wake up from their slumber.
Okay.
That where we have gotten to, medical laboratory scientists have also developed their capacity to lead and manage themselves. And so if they come in with a sole intention that they cannot submit to medical laboratory scientists, claiming a certain superior knowledge, as if when they go to school, what they learned, all the professors that taught them died in a plane crash, and that knowledge is not available to anybody, they should wake up quickly and learn quickly that today's medical laboratory professional will never submit to a medical doctor in that laboratory space. Okay. No, it will not happen.
Okay, Doc, we thank you for bringing this situation, at least coming to give us a further explanation as to why we have gotten where we are. Let's see how we can resolve this matter amicably and pick the thought of a labor consultant, Dr. I beg your pardon, Austin Game. Mr. Game, I have made you a medical doctor by adding doctor to your name, but thank you for your time this evening.
I'm most grateful.
I'm sure this is a subject that you have followed for some time, where the medical lab scientists are saying that they cannot be subjected to another or an equal medical professional who, by virtue of being a medical doctor, should superintend over them, and that they have knowledge for this specific skill they give as a service to the value chain of health professionals. What do you make of the current situation, and how can we resolve it?
Well, let me be very candid with you that the lab scientists are my very good friends, and I work with them closely. Indeed, I was at this didn't start yesterday. It started way back in the previous regime. It became very turbulent. It could have led to a more horrendous situation than the way it happened these few days. We stepped in. I was present at some of the meetings. And the last time when this government came into office, it brought about another confusion. And we stepped in. I was present at the meeting, and because of our presence, we managed to quieten the situation. And the chief director and his team set up a small committee to work out a few things. I have been traveling as a guest speaker all over the place, and so I was not present to follow it up. Fortunately, the medical lab people have a very knowledgeable general secretary in the person of Cephas, Dr. Cephas Kota also, who stepped in to help them quieten the situation a little bit. Unfortunately, it appears that normally there appears to be some kind of apprehension on the part of both the medical people, the physicians, and that of the lab scientists. And therefore, this has, come to a stage where they have to physically have a showdown. And some of us work behind the scene to prevent the team from getting to, bad states in the interest of their customers, those who get sick and needing their support. And so A meeting was held, I think, 2 days ago or so, to try and put it to where it belongs. I was busy teaching somewhere, so I couldn't attend, but my representative was there. We tried to reduce the matter to the level where it is now. I think the ministry is working out feverishly to get them together for another round of meeting. Somebody was appointed temporarily to handle the schedule that is in controversy. Hopefully, they should be able to. There'll be a meeting on the 12th of May, next week Tuesday or so, to enable us find a more lasting solution. I think we'll endeavor to be present to try and help them. We do not, even though we work closely with the lab scientists, because of our role as impartial people, we do not want to support one side per se. We want to make sure we provide knowledge and understanding to help them resolve the matter in the best interest of their customers and their states.
Right, but Mr. Game, how difficult should this matter be that these two separate individual groups have had enough knowledge or have all gained knowledge in their chosen fields of interest, and the bone of contention is that one side wants to lead the other side even within the medical science space, and they say that no, we have enough competence to manage our affairs. Stay in your offices. We can collaborate and work together. If you have any need, we can work on that, but you cannot superintend and more or less be managing us. That is all that they are saying. How difficult should this matter be in resolving it?
You see, it's like other professions. It's like you are a journalist and you have all branched into, even though you are all general journalists, you are branched into some specialities. And so that must be considered. And the employer has a major role to play. I'm talking about the state as employer who engage the services of people to be in charge of various departments and also as CEOs and chairman of board and so forth and so on. You have to understand that all professions have some kind of professional ethics that must be abided by, and if you have your job descriptions and relationship, the organogram of the company showing who can be there, working in collaboration with Public Services Commission, they should be able to determine specifications that qualify people to head particular, and everybody has to progress. Doctors have their space. Doctors are not necessarily lab scientists, right, unless you train in some specific aspect and you are capable and everybody can attest to it. You are not, a doctor is not necessarily a nurse. A nurse have a role they play, and they play it, to the best of their ability. And so everybody must acknowledge and know his space in the profession. Unfortunately, maybe the employer's direct representatives went and slept a little bit all these years past. It's now that this thing has, come up to the head and some effort, and they must do it well. That's why I'm speaking the way I'm speaking. I could have spoken in a more authoritative manner by way of saying it should be this and that, but that will be positional. And once I do that, it means I cannot sit between them and support them to bring about understanding. As mediators, we don't behave that way. So we would prefer not to be authoritative and taking position on this issue until we get to the meeting on the 12th, and we'll bring about our professional influence to try and guide both parties to resolve the matter amicably than trying to support one side against the other.
Okay. And finally, I mean, clearly you are confident that this is resolvable and it shouldn't take too long if you have cool heads and you meet. There should be a solution at the end of that meeting.
Sure. Even America and Iran matter can be resolved. How much more this one? Right. It's not a major issue. Okay. It can be resolved, except that everybody must bury his pride and self and let us bring about a skillful application of how best these matters can be resolved. It's not a major issue. They have made it look as if it is something that is for do or die affair. I think that it is resolvable. It can be resolved.
Mr. Game, thank you so much for your time this evening.
You're most welcome.
And he's a labor consultant and giving us clear indications that it is a resolvable issue, so there shouldn't be any qualms about that going forward. Dr. Franklin Ni Amartey is with us. Your final words. Clearly, you know about the meeting on the 12th. You're also confident that it is a resolvable issue, so you go in with cool heads. And hopefully at the end, your concerns and the issues raised by the doctors will find some common ground, right?
Very well.
Okay.
This is my final words to those in management who claim that the leadership and the management of the laboratory is an administrative position. That is not factual. Because if it is just administrative position, then you wouldn't need technical competencies to head. You need 3 sets of skills: technical competencies, conceptual competency, and then human skills to lead in the laboratory space. What is the technical competencies? Defined by law, medical laboratory science. What the medical officers went to school to do is medicine, not medical laboratory science.
So there's a clear distinction.
And clearly, if it is an administrative position, and we can agree, it means that the nurse manager position is also administrative. The pharmacy manager position is also administrative. And similarly, the facility head position, which has been the sole preserve. You see, we have been charitable to medical officers. They are minority in our space, but we have submitted to them even leading of the whole facilities. Let me submit to them that milk is not their sole preserve. All other professionals can also digest milk appropriately. Okay. And so we at least deserve to lead and manage in the laboratories. Okay. If they insist that we have to open up all the spaces, let us as a country have conversation, open up all the spaces, and let core administrators lead and manage all of us. But if we identify that it's a prerequisite to have a technical skills, then let the principles apply.
Okay. And let the law work.
It is a very simple matter.
All right. Doc, thank you so much for joining us in studio for this conversation. Dr. Franklin Ni Amartey is Vice President of the Medical Laboratory.
First Vice Chairman.
You're the
First Vice Chairman.
First Vice Chairman of the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union. Thank you for your time this evening. This is still 3FM 92.7. We are live from our studio here at Asiedu-Dartey in Accra. Stay with us. When we return, we'll be taking you to the offices of the health minister, where the report about the death of Charles Emisa, the gentleman who was knocked down and could not get a bed facility in 3 major hospitals. Well, a committee that was put together to investigate the issue has presented its report to the minister. We have details of all of that for you in a moment. This is Hot Edition on 3FM. This is still 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. Let's turn our attention to some other subjects now. The 3-member committee investigating the death of Charles Emisa has concluded that he died from medical negligence rather than the immediate injuries he sustained. Chair of the committee, Ajiman Akosa, explained that the cause of death was excessive blood loss resulting from a severe injury in the upper arm, and the victim could have survived if timely medical intervention had been provided. There's more in this report.
And the pathology confirms a slow death from medical neglect and was not from the instant trauma. What it means is that if at any of these facilities there had been medical intervention, Charles Emisa could have survived. Now the key findings. Charles Emisa died of exsanguination, excessive loss of blood due to an upper right arm bone and soft tissue injury, causing damage to the axillary and brachial arteries and veins following a road traffic accident. Death of Charles Emisa could have been avoided by medical intervention at the police hospital, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, or Kolebu Teaching Hospital. If the ambulance crew had applied compression on the laceration and packed the deep wound prior to transportation, they could have stopped the bleeding. They could also have administered intravenous fluids in the ambulance whilst moving. That would have restored the blood volume.
And so that is Professor Ajiman Akosa, who was the chair of the 3-member committee that was investigating the unfortunate death of Charles Emisa. Now, responding after receiving the report, Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Kando said that all the medical professionals who have been mentioned in the report will face disciplinary action. Right, so we'll try and bring you the position that was shared by the Health Minister, and so it's here now.
I want to accordingly direct my chief director, the chief director of the Ministry of Health, to write to the following people, the following health professionals and their hospitals and their regulators, that disciplinary actions be taken against them. 1, Dr. Anne-Marie Kudo should be referred to the police hospital and the Medical and Dental Council with immediate effect. Dr. Nina Naomi Iram, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital and the Medical and Dental Council. Dr. Ida Drant be referred to Kolebu Teaching Hospital and the Medical and Dental Council. I understand some of these facilities have already started disciplinary actions against some of these people, and I'll urge them to expedite action on them, and their respective regulators must also do same. Dr. Genevieve Aja must also be referred to Kolebu Teaching Hospital and Medical and Dental Council. Ms. Akosia B. Texan must be referred to the Greater Accra Regional Hospital and then NMC. Ms. Joy Daisy Nelson, Kolebu Teaching Hospital and NMC. Ms. Salamatu Ahasan Bedu must also be referred to Kolebu Teaching Hospital and NMC.
And that is Kwabena Mintah Kanda, who is the minister in charge of health, and those were his thoughts after he received the report that was submitted by the Professor Ajimanbedu Akosa Committee. So these names that he mentioned are expected to face some disciplinary action. We would follow this story and update you when we do get it subsequently. Away from that, then, delays in the government's big push infrastructure agenda are beginning to trigger unrest in some communities. Frustrated youth are agitating over stalled projects, with some warning that they may take over construction sites if work does not resume. In the Upper West region, for instance, a coalition of youth groups and concerned citizens have issued a strong warning to the government, threatening to take control of the Upper West Regional Airport if work on the long-delayed Bole-Solarwa Road does not commence immediately. The group, in a petition addressed to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, expressed deep frustration over what they describe as government inaction on the critical 195-kilometer stretch. Let's listen to this report and then also pick the thoughts of our reporter who's been following this story for us.
Despite the sword cutting in November 2025 by President John Dramani Mahama under the government Big Push project, work was expected to start in earnest by the contractor. However, according to the angry youth, less than 1% of work has been completed on the Solarwa session more than a year after the contract was awarded, adding that the deplorable condition of the road, characterized by deep potholes, heavy dust, and severe corrugation, has turned what should be a vital economic corridor linking Upper West to the Bono East and Savannah regions into what they call an endurance trial for commuters and traders.
We therefore state without ambiguity the following. 1. Immediate and visible commencement of full reconstruction works on the Wenchi-Bole-Wa Solar Road, not token gestures or clearing of road shoulders. 2. Mr. Maripoma Enterprise Limited must either begin real work immediately or be removed from the project without delay. 3. A clear enforceable commitment to the project which will meet the technical standards and timelines publicly promised by His Excellency the President. And then 4. A clear commitment to ensuring that the local content requirement is adhered to.
The group has given the government a 2-week ultimatum to demonstrate concrete and verifiable action on the project. Failure to do so, they warn, will trigger sustained and disruptive protests.
If this ultimatum is ignored, the demonstration that will follow will be disruptive, sustained, and impossible to ignore. We will take control of our narrative, and if necessary, our infrastructure, including the Upper West Regional Airport. Mr. Minister, please act decisively.
Meanwhile, the Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwame Govins Abuja, who is in the region alongside his entourage to inspect ongoing road projects, assured the group of the government commitment.
We can take the opportunity to assure you that we have come up with our own options, not different from yours. You'll notice that normally I give timelines to contractors to either show stand up and work or we terminate. We did not in his case because of the size of the project, so he will be met at the ministry on Thursday and the discussion will be had. The outcome of that discussion will be communicated rightly through the regional minister to you.
And Govins Kwame Abuja is the minister in charge of roads and highways. Well, you heard him there. Well, and then when we swing to the Savannah region where the minister is on a tour, he revealed a troubling pattern of slow progress, last-minute mobilization, and broken assurances on the Wenchi-Bole-Wa Highway. He issued strong warnings to underperforming contractors on the program, threatening terminations, court actions, and the relocation of contracts or reallocation of contracts. My colleague Christopher Mwako was with the team and has joined us for a quick chat on this. Christopher, good evening to you. Thank you for your time. These contractors have been on the road since December last year. At least that's what we are told. Tell us about the state and progress of work and why the minister reacted the way he did.
Yes, so Martin, the progress is slow and the pace of the road is not improving because almost all the contractors on the road, starting from lot 2 to lot 7, have not done anything that impressed the minister and his team. According to them, by now, the contractors should have done about 10-15% of the work. But as it stands now, no contractor has been able to do up to that. Some have even not been able to do up to 4%. And so this actually angered the minister to actually tell the contractors in their face that they came begging for the job, and now that the job has been given to them, the work is moving slow. He's also indicated that Big Push is not like any other road contract. This one has time limits, and they are working to ensure that they meet the timelines. And so any contractor who is not living up to expectation would be sacked, and they are ready to face any contractor in court. He's also indicated that no contractor is above government. And once the Big Push is something that is a priority area for government, they are going to ensure that the contractors who are not doing their work are dealt with, or their contracts are abrogated, especially those who have raised certificates and money advanced to them and they are not working. Let's take a listen to what the minister as well as his deputy have been saying about this particular road contract.
So when we say they beg for it, of course, if you are just 50 chosen out of 5,000, you should know that there's a lot of expectation coming from your side. So we are expecting that this contractor backs up. My brother has already said 2 months is what they have. So Chief Director, issue them the first warning letter for performing less than our expectation. I know we need to give them 2 before we terminate, but on Big Push, we are fast tracking everything. If the next time we come and they are not performing according to our schedule, we tell you to step aside. We bring somebody. You can meet us at court. What the Ghanaian needs is that the Ghanaian, through their representatives in Parliament, have put aside money to pay for Big Push contractors. As we are saying, the government was owing contractors a huge amount of money, almost 40 billion. The president directed the finance minister, we paid 12 billion to as arrears already. Project he did not award. He's also paid every Big Push contractor which has raised work certificate. And let me say, not every Big Push contractor raised certificate for mobilization. Some of them have also not raised any work certificate. Indeed, if you haven't worked, what certificate are you going to raise? So at the moment, we don't have money crisis that you say that contractors are doing Big Push project and they are not working because they are not being paid. And if the Ghanaian hears that you have taken mobilization or you haven't raised certificate yet you are not working, then what is your use on the site? Historically, contractors are used to working according to their own time. Maybe 99% of projects in Ghana never get completed on schedule. But with Big Push, we will not wait until the end. We'll take you out of the schedule so that we complete on time. So any contractor thinking that the olden days of doing project when you finish, those days have expired. You are going to work according to our schedule, not according to your schedule. And no contractor is above this the direction. You can be big, small, you work according to our schedule. If you can't, step aside. It's as simple as that. Even if you are my mother-in-law or my father-in-law, that you have no exemption. You must work.
Well, yeah, so Chris, clearly it looks like the minister wasn't impressed at all. We also understand that on the back of that, some youth are planning some demonstrations. What kind of update do we have on that?
Yes, so Martin, if you recall, in the Upper West region, the youth have actually given government some 2 weeks that they want to see serious action on the road. Now, in the Savannah region and parts of the Bono East region, the 2 regional ministers and other stakeholders have been able to calm the youth down not to demonstrate. That is why we are not seeing any youth agitation on that road. But one thing is clear, the minister has actually given the contractors some 2 months ultimatum to be able to reach a certain threshold, that is 20% of work done. The contractors, yes, have given indications that they are going to go by that, and by the time the ministry will return to that stretch of road, they would have done the 20% that the ministry is talking about. But the youth have said that, yes, they believe in the leadership of the roads minister and the regional ministers, and the fact that they have asked them to calm down. They are waiting to see what will happen. But the Deputy Roads Minister has been justifying the fact that the youth are right to have demanded that the road be worked on schedule, and also wanting to demonstrate. He actually indicated that if in 2 months nothing is done on that road, they will not only help the youth to demonstrate, they will also ensure that the contracts or the contractors lose their job on that road, and serious contractors will be given the opportunity to come and work on that road. Let's take a listen to what the Deputy Minister has been saying.
Right, Chris, we may have to bring that to our listeners later, but thank you for that report you've given us, Christopher Marco. And he is our correspondent in the Savannah region on tour with the roads minister, visiting a number of road contracts. And clearly from all indications, the minister does not seem to be impressed, especially the contracts that are under government's flagship Big Push agenda. Let's speak to Emmanuel Cherry, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Construction Industry. Mr. Cherry, thank you for your time. What do you make of the concerns raised by the minister? It looks as though a number of the contractors are not living up to standard. What are your thoughts?
Okay, first of all, let me take this opportunity to salute you and to salute your cherished listeners and the viewers across the world. Yeah, one thing is we need to at least appreciate the minister for his fortitude, because it's not all ministers that have this courage to be able to match such kind of gargantua challenges that has been orchestrated by the witnesses that he has chanced on recently. So we must commend him for such a move, because such a move normally help us for us to sit up and to shape the industry collectively. So my initial comment must be, we must appreciate the minister for such a courage.
And many actually have applauded not just the minister, but the fact that the contracts are being given to Ghanaian contractors. So the expectation clearly is also high. From what you have studied or observed, is it lack of capacity on the part of these contractors, or they are facing genuine challenges that the minister may not be aware of?
Not really. One thing is, most of the contractors, some of the selected contractors that has been found in the web, happens to be the giants within the industry as we speak now. So if we talk of capacity, they have much more than capacity we talk about here. However, there are other issues that we need to interrogate, because per our information, some of the contractors who have received this mobilization or the advanced mobilization the minister talked about, even though per the minister's records, payment has been made, but the money hit the account and the money disappeared as a result of what? Government in heavily indebtedness to the contractors in the past. So any amount of money that drops into the account goes. And the government makes conscious efforts to make sure that at least those arrears that has been owed to contractors, at least a portion is being taken care of. Even also, the minister may be thinking that, okay, I've made a part payment or mobilization payment to contractors, and therefore you are expecting them on the road. You will be surprised that the money gets there, but they don't have the money themselves to mobilize to go to site, which means they need to look elsewhere to look for money. These are some of the challenges that some of the contractors are being faced realistically on the ground.
Right. So with the new ultimatum that the government has given, some we are told in 2 months they should do at least 20% of the contract. Others have been threatened that if they return and they do not see an appreciable progress of work, the contract might be terminated. Are these fair threats? I don't even want to call them threats. Are these fair concerns raised by the minister? And is your chamber, for instance, going to be supporting the fact that people are not delivering and so the contract be re-awarded to someone else?
Yeah, for the minister, his prerogative is to make sure that the right thing has been done. He is expecting the result. So as a result-oriented person, that is what he must do. However, he must also not lose the sight that, or the focus on the issues or the ball. As been stated earlier, immediately he assumed office. Even in his comments, he made mention of our arrears owed to contractors over 40 billion. So the 40 billion in questions, how much has been paid so far? How much is in arrears so far? Those are some of the issues we also need to interrogate consciously. So therefore, based upon his directive, he has requested that some of these contractors should meet him at his office. So we are also following suit accordingly and then make sure that the needful has been done. Because entirely the fault shouldn't come from to the contractors per se. We must interrogate the issues collectively and see what can we do and to make sure that this bottleneck is being taken care of.
Right. Well, we'll see how the coming days unfold. Thank you for making time to speak with us.
The pleasure is mine. All
right. And so that is Emmanuel Cherry. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Construction Industry. And that's it for our package this evening. Up next is the latest in the world of sports.
Stars, where new head coach Carlos Queiroz has named a 23-man squad to face Mexico later in the month, and a friendly which falls outside the international FIFA window, and as a result has seen the squad comprising of players who are not necessarily Team A players, with a good blend of local players, under 23 players, and French players, as described by the Ghana Football Association. My colleague Billy Shen has been taking a look at the squad and presents this breakdown.
Carlos Queiroz, the head coach of the Black Stars, has named his 23-man squad for the international friendly against Mexico, scheduled for the 22nd of May 2026. Now, it's a curious one because it's a mixture of debutants, of local players, of somewhat under 23 players as well, and some returnees who are coming into the squad. Now, for the debutants, we have 14 of them being named for the squad, including the likes of Mensah Marco Jr. and Menudia, who features in the MLS with San Diego, and then also a curious one, Francis Amuzu. Back in 2022, he granted an interview to a Belgian station stating that he had calls to join the Black Stars, but he said no. But for recent times, he's been talking about featuring for the Black Stars at the World Cup and featuring for a country that his father was born in. So he's been given a chance to be part of this lineup. Now, for the local side, there's no Benjamin Asare because it sort of looks like he's touted as one of the key members of the team. And one key name is Salim Adams, who features for Mediama SC. Now, he scored a brace during that win over BBNE Gold Stars over the weekend, and he's been touted as one of the best players on the local scene. With regards to the returnees, we have the likes of Majid Ashmeru, who's been struggling with injuries in the past. We have Razak Simpson coming back into the side as well. And there's Felix Afenejan, who's having a good season in Turkey as well. But with these 23-man squad, it sort of looks like a justified inclusion. It's one opportunity for them just before Carlos Queiroz names his final squad for the 2026 World Cup. And so a lot of eyes will be on them and how they perform against Mexico on the 22nd.
Well, that was my colleague Bill Shen speaking there, bringing an end to Hot Edition here on ZFM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and we come your way again, same time tomorrow.